Ribeiro is a unique wine region. Its heritage of growing and producing one of the world's greatest wines dates back over 1,000 years. We are in the heart of Galicia, in northwest Spain. Ribeiro is located in a confluence of valleys formed by the Miño River and three of its streams, Arnoia, Avia and Barbantinho. The Atlantic Ocean is less than 50 kilometers to the west, but a barrier of mountains lessens its impact. This explains its unique climate, Atlantic and Mediterranean, oceanic and continental, which all leads to slower ripening and accentuates the aroma and freshness of Ribeiro wines. The climate, the soil and the orographic features of the region have contributed to a type of viticulture where plantations on the most exposed and ventilated hillsides take precedence. If we take a look at the geography of Ribeiro's designation of origin, its architecture gives us many hints about the historical importance that Ribeiro wines have had over the centuries. Major religious establishments were pioneers in promoting the growth of viticulture as well as the Christian faith. We can see it in Sánchez de Francelos in Rivadavia. Visigoth and Mozarabic wall carvings tell us about the vineyards and their surroundings already existing in the 8th century. San Claudio Monastery in Lleida transformed the entire Avia Valley into a wine-producing province, providing other Cistercian monasteries with Ribeiro wine. San Claudio monks, firstly from the San Benito order and then the Cistercians, also experimented with different cultivation methods, grape varieties and means of production. The wine that we enjoy today is a legacy of that constant pursuit of excellence, carried out with rigor and zeal in many monasteries of the region. Rural aristocracy, which was very closely linked to land and crops, soon joined the viticulture business since there were few businesses as lucrative as winemaking in the region. And rightly so, when the Codex Calixtinus was published in the 12th century, Ribeiro wine was the most precious and expensive product that pilgrims found when they arrived in Santiago de Compostela. Its fame quickly transcended borders. It reached America with Columbus and the tables of the nobility in England, Flanders, and the kingdoms of Italy. Every fleet leaving from any Spanish port could carry Ribeiro wine in their holds, no matter where they were headed. The Spanish Golden Age was also Ribeiro's Golden Age, and rogue traders tried to find ways to do business under its shadows. In order to prevent fraud in Rivadavia in the 16th century, regulations were drafted determining the growing areas and characteristics of the wine. They became the first rules in history intended to regulate and protect a wine, and it is the earliest version of the current designations of origin. What is Ribeiro like today? Some of the characteristics have been inherited from its many centuries of history. Subsequent distributions of inheritance from generation to generation produced smaller-sized vineyards as a result. Nearly 3,000 hectares were owned by more than 6,000 vine growers, with structures cut into two races, or socalcos, as they are called in Galician, which have their origin in the Middle and the Modern Ages. Growing crops in this way means the labor in the vineyard has to be done manually. Is this a disadvantage? For a different designation of origin, perhaps. In Ribeiro, however, it's an advantage which adds personality and a natural touch to the wine. Each vine grower knows and cares for each of the vines one by one, and the harvest is carried out with the greatest of care, by hand of course, when each of the vines is at its best moment. Each vintage is like a limited and exclusive edition. It provides on average about 10 million liters produced by more than 100 wineries. The production structure is another unique factor in Ribeiro. From small harvesters called colheiteiros, producing wine exclusively from their small holdings, to medium and large wineries with a business structure. All of them developed and promote the quality of Ribeiro wines and consolidated both in the domestic and international market. Both sides share the same tradition, the same desire to develop the best wines. The great technological effort made in recent years has focused on preserving and enhancing the quality of the grapes and the natural purity of the wines produced by them. What does natural purity mean? It amounts to the surroundings, the climate, the soils, and the wisdom of the vine growers, enabling them to produce a wine that doesn't require any kind of artificial device to reach its full potential. That is what makes Ribeiro so unique. Ribeiro has a diversity based on its native grape varieties, selected over the centuries, which have been perfectly adapted to the environment. Like musical notes, each winemaker composes a unique melody with these varieties, a symphony of flavors and aromas that can be perceived from the moment the bottle is uncorked. The most characteristic white grapes are Torrontés, Lado, Alvarinho, Loureira, Godello, and above all, Treixadura, the essential grape, the basis of Ribeiro's great white wines. In smaller quantities, representing 10% of the total production, we have the red, a unique wine with a lot of character. It is also produced with varieties belonging to Ribeiro's specific agroclimatic environment. Caíño, Sousón, Brancellao, Ferrón, and Mencía are the most characteristic. With a very limited production of less than 1% due to an extremely complex and arduous method of production, there is the least known wine from Ribeiro designation of origin, a Tostado do Ribeiro, a naturally sweet wine, which is truly unique and legendary in the history of Ribeiro. It comes from the raisin-making process, from the best grapes of each harvest, and is an absolute enological gem that always surprises. Also, as an investment for the future, we will soon be able to try Ribeiro's sparkling wine. It is not a true novelty, because there have been previous productions both in the 1920s and after that in the 1980s, which are now in the process of being recovered. Both different and unique, Ribeiro wines have the same values in common. They are all aromatic, fruity, fine, elegant, and full of nuances, wines that are seductive and surprising. Ribeiro, Galician quintessence.